Hello everyone, my name is Renato Costa, this is Aussie Law, and today we'll talk about the Caretaker Prime Minister. What does this title mean? In our last video, we saw what was the constitutional crisis of 1975 and how it was solved by the dismissal of the Whitlam government and the appointment of Malcolm Fraser, the leader of the Liberal Party, as the caretaker Prime Minister. But what does that mean? What's the difference between the Prime Minister and the caretaker Prime Minister? The difference, and this is the key thing about this whole video, is the stability of the position. A Prime Minister is someone who has been confirmed as the leader of the party that enjoys the confidence of the lower house of parliament. So after general elections and once the result has been confirmed, the Prime Minister, the leader of the party that enjoys the majority in the lower house and the confidence of that house, will go before the Governor General and be sworn in as the Prime Minister. However, look, during the period between the issue of the writs for new elections and the dissolution of the House and the final results of that election, well, during this time, government cannot stop. The government must continue to uphold the Constitution and to administer the laws of the Commonwealth. And it is precisely in this moment that the figure of the caretaker Prime Minister comes into place. The caretaker period occurs between the dissolution of the House and the result of the election with the appointment of the government or when the continuing government is confirmed. During that period, the leader of the government of the previous parliament will continue to work as the Prime Minister. He or she will continue to take care of the opposition until they are confirmed as the new Prime Ministers or until the opposition leader becomes the Prime Minister. In the case of the constitutional crisis, the caretaker prime ministership of Malcolm Fraser was used to guarantee supply and to call for new elections. So when the results of the elections came back and the coalition won, Malcolm Fraser was appointed Prime Minister and his caretaker period ceased. The first ever public record of a caretaker period in Australia was in 1951. In that year, Sir Robert Menzies urged his ministers not to make any decisions without his approval until the results of the elections came back. And although every time new federal elections are being held, a new caretaker prime minister will exist in practice, we have had only 3 prime ministers that have been considered to be only caretaker prime ministers. They were Earl Page, Frank Ford and John McEwen. The 3 of them held their posts just until the government of the day elected a new leader. And the 3 of them assumed their caretaker position after the death of their predecessors. Hey, if you are liking the content of this video and if you enjoy watching all of our videos that we produce, you know you have the chance to become a member of Aussie Law. If you click the join button, you have access to an exclusive area with polls and comments that only members have access to. And of course, even if you don't want to become a member of Aussie Law, you can still be part of our community by clicking the subscribe button. Well, there are some rules during this caretaker period. I said rules because the caretaker period itself is a constitutional convention. But despite it being a convention, there are certain rules that should be followed. For example, during this caretaker period, no major decision or major expenditure should exist. The government should not enter into major contracts or undertakings. And no relevant appointments or policies that could bind the next government should take place. You see, the idea of this period is to guarantee that the government will continue to function because it must function. But it should not make any major moves that could somehow compromise the agenda of the next government. Since we don't know who the next government will be, during the caretaker period, the government should not make any major decisions. But of course, in some extreme circumstances, the caretaker prime minister may be called to make a decision on the spot, and that's okay. Ideally though, in those circumstances, the caretaker prime minister and the leader of the opposition, they should come together to decide on how to proceed on that matter. The decision then should be agreeable to all of the people in the political spectrum. I hope you enjoyed learning more about this particular feature of the Australian political and legal system. In my next video, we will dive deeper into cases related to the Whitlam government dismissal and Section 57 of the Constitution. If you want to refresh your memory on those topics, you can watch the video disappearing on screen, and you can make sure that you are subscribed to Aussie Law and that you've hit the bell icon as well. I hope to see you next time. Ciao.